So this is the Scandinavian style workbench. This is Frank Klaus's copy, if you will, or clone. Rob Cosman does a really good version of it. This is a low budget version. Southern yellow pine and some hardwood that came off a pallet. But it allows a vise to be used in a way that doesn't have the runners interfering with the wood section. So you can put a piece of wood in like this and do your work. And some of the advantages of this, of course, is you can raise and lower that pretty quickly and get your piece out. Also, these dog holes are the entire length of the bench. It does get in the way when I plane if I'm down here with a long piece of wood. So I tend to stay down here, or I'll take it to the other bench, which we'll see in a minute. This hole here allows for the clamping of wood in case there's an option to clamp a long piece. And that's a pretty straightforward process called a hold fast. This is the design that was purchased off of a person in Black Bear Forge, and I got two of them. One is on the other bench that is essentially dedicated to carving. So the way that the vise works, the tail vise, pretty straightforward. If you've seen anybody on YouTube, they would probably have metal or rounded dogs. It doesn't really matter as long as it clamps the wood that you want and it doesn't interfere with your work, which you may be doing carving or planing. And so you would just lower the bench vices to make sure you clear and keep the wood straight. Some options to do a saw cut is here with this saw stop. This is something that's nice. It aligns with the tool well, and I added this here for extra clamping features. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You can, of course, put the wood in here if you're doing something specific and you want a different way of working on it directionally to where you are. So that's the tail vise on the Scandinavian style bench. Tag Fred and Frank Klaus made this style popular. This is a direct copy off of the Scott Landis plans that were in the book. This is the tool cabinet that I made a few years ago off a project, and I had some extra wood. It's plywood, 1/2 inch with clear pine, and it's off the Christian Bexevert design. His is a lot nicer. It's made out of cherry. Mine, again, is a low budget version, if you will. Same concept. This is about 6 feet, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the spread. 2 feet here, 4 feet there. And I can hang the tools that I need to get to frequently. Pretty convenient. I usually just leave it open. Miscellaneous tools in the drawers, etc., etc. But everything's set up pretty functional. Not as pretty as some, but that's what it needs to be. This is the English style workbench. This one actually is off the Paul Sellers design. I modified it to work within the context of my shop, but pretty much held true to his design. The long drawer here allows for miscellaneous measuring and storage with hammers. Find it pretty convenient. Other things find their way in there as well. The show on this show tool is the Optimize. It's a 10-inch, has plenty of opportunity to clamp long pieces. This has a cam release, so it just slides right out without having to thread it. That you can pick up the threads and clamp down on a piece of wood. Unlike the other device, this one has the intermediate rails and thread, which interferes with the length of the clamping. So you're somewhat limited, and it is functional for what it is. And there's many tasks that I've used. Obviously, the wear and tear on this thing has been pretty significant. And with that is the stops. Now, I don't recall these being on Mr. Seller's bench, but I added mine. And I think a lot of times you'll see people that insert stops in here and they pop them up from below. I just added mine to this, and a little bit clunky and a little bit unelegant, but it works. And it allows me to plane thin pieces like this piece of wood, where I can get it pretty low in the stop without trying to worry about clamping it down. And some of the idea too is not to push on the wood and bow it, so you wind up taking more different sections that are under stress. So the idea of just allowing this wood to sit there and you work against it has been pretty effective. And I'll get into a demo on this project here later. So that's the Paul Sellers workbench. Has a dog, a holdfast as well, so I can clamp. Some occasions I found needed to have that, so I added that also. Lots of storage underneath. I have to share the woodworking with the welding and automotive work as well as gardening work. Either side of these workbenches, on either end rather, you have shelves where you can choose to put whatever you wish. And for me, I choose to use pruning saws on one side and this water station, which allows me to bring my sharpening apparel stuff out and do sharpening pretty quickly and get right back to work. So this is the Craigslist find that I got, I don't know, maybe 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. And it's set up for metal in terms of the speed. And I have drilled wood with the speed. It doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of what kind of bit you're using. And it has a pretty good throw. The table is adjustable, although it doesn't pivot and articulate for angles. So it's very stout. This does allow me to take an angle into consideration by using this ramp here. And I just lock it in place or wedge it, and then if I need to use it, I do so. But most of the time I just use it straight like it is. And it does adjust all the way up and down. Otherwise it serves as other holding devices, which can be convenient. So this is the lathe I got off of Craigslist. I looked on the list on the ad for about 2 months before I actually bought it. And the gentleman had a really nice new lathe. This is a PM90 lathe, Powermatic 90. I think it's circa 1960s lathe. I'm sure there's some paperwork on there. I haven't been able to identify it though, but I'm pretty sure it's 1960s. It does work, it's fully functional. It does ramp up. Everything works really smooth. Instead of a variable speed drive electronic, this is old school with a adjustable cam or shift. And I don't know if this is accurate, but it's good enough for me in terms of being fast. Most of the time I don't turn things that quickly. There's the safety for that. With the idea of having a workstation dedicated to efficiency, there's the idea of either having a wood-based tool holder or tool rest that Curtis Buchanan used and has on his lathe. I don't know if he still does, but he had for years, and could put his tooling on this side and he could quickly get to it. for me, I had a lot of different things going on here, so I just added it to a space-saving consideration for the scrap wood that I have. So the cutoffs that I want to keep that don't make the fire pit do, in fact, land in here, and I try to compartmentalize and utilize as much as I can. These are for measuring thicknesses of the spindles, because I haven't really done bolt turning yet. And then of course the headgear. So spindle turning is pretty safe, but there has been times when it's been good to have some extra protection. And this allows me to set up a long type of tool rest. And we might have to pause here while I set it up, but we'll see if this works okay. So that I can take this tool two cams in there that cinch the thing together, and then once you tighten it, you have a longer tool rest. Now all this is just a piece of plywood at an angle, and I use some hard maple to tighten it up, and these are locking the wedges in place now, so I can effectively move this as I need to, and I don't have to constantly reposition as if they were two different ones or one single. And maybe that's a little bit of a, beginner's kind of turning, because it's maybe just lazy, but it does work pretty well. And of course this is adjustable and I get longer throw, and this is pretty straightforward. If you do on two centers here, I do have the piece that goes in here. I can't think of it at the moment, spur, and it will be pretty safe to turn. And if I need to eject this, just take it all the way back and it pops out. Morse taper 2, I think it is. So once that's ready to go, it's pretty fast to turn. So the radial arm saw was a opportunity that came in relation to a school that had it, and it was in storage for a while, and it looked pretty rough. So I think they had tried to sell it at one point, but no one bought it. So it sat there for I don't know how long, and then I had an opportunity to go pick it up in the state that it was in. We'll throw some B-roll pictures in and show what it looked like before and after, and then I think we'll come back and we'll fire it up and we'll cut a piece of wood just to show it. I think this is a 14-inch model. Yeah, and it's pretty stout in terms of what could cut. I haven't used it a whole lot, but I think having it is just too cool. And it can also pull in dust through this fence system here. Kind of got the idea off of Frank Howarth, and he got the idea of some other YouTuber, and this does remove, his is a lot more sleeker than mine, but it does pretty much what it needs to do. It's very crude, but pretty much all the sawdust goes there through the bottom via this tube or piping that connects to the dust collection. And then with the series of gates, I can control which tool is going to get the airflow. So the dust collection, I don't even know where I got that thing. It was probably on sale, but it was a no-name brand off of probably a manufacturer that normally makes them. They just took the sticker off, I guess, and I picked it up on a pretty good deal. So this radial arc saw is also free. It was in the back of a truck, and I think it was around early 2000, 2001, 2002. I was working in a building, and this was sitting in the back of the truck, and back of the pickup. And the guy was going to get rid of it and throw it out. And I stuck it in the back of the car and took it home, and it's worked pretty good in terms of cross-cutting. This is set up for dado work right here, so that dados can be utilized to effect in terms of keeping it dedicated. The thing about a shop is when you keep flipping blades back and forth and bits and things like that, you lose time. And this is a hobby shop. I'm not, of course, professional, but time is still precious, and it's nice to have things that are redundant that way. This is a little hodgepodge dust collection system. It works okay, but it's better than not having it. So simple box, just pulls in this sawdust from this gate here, dust glass gate or whatever we want to call it, and I can isolate out and continue to push air or suck air going down to that. This is the Bosch saw. It was one of the saws that I got. The first one though was the Harbor Freight deal here. It's very lightweight and nice to take if you're going to take it out backyard or take it somewhere on a job site somewhere. So that's nice. This thing is pretty heavy, but it's real accurate, very powerful, and the dust collection isn't that great, but with a dust collection port going this direct, this close to the dust collection system is pretty effective for what it is. And it, of course, is a compound miter saw sliding. This is that armature. A lot of times you'll see the rail system like this one is down here, where it takes up a lot of room in the back. And this one allows you to really, if you wanted to put it against the wall, you could. I just have it here so I can actually utilize it, and also stack some of the other things that I've got going on. So standing station, I think everybody's got one of these. If not, they've got a modified version. If not, they've got something better. So a sanding machine like this has been very valuable for a lot of the work that I've done. Curved work and trying to actually true things up on the angle has been very nice. This thing, of course, is not real accurate. If you needed to get it close, you can, and I think it's pretty decent for what it is. It's not a high efficient, it's not a high commercial grade unit. It's a Home Depot brand, but it works pretty well. So these are different spindle sizes, and it makes sense to use something smaller in a tighter radius rather than a large one. Obviously you can see which has been used most, and get a little bit out of everything. So this grinding station ideally would be back where the lathe is, and the lathe used to be here next to where the toolbox is now, or where the toolbox is now. This is functional for me. When it gets to moving and vibrating, I have to lock these drawers because they want to pull out or open, and this 2-inch reference block allows me to grind certain tools at 2-inch, and I can use that reference when I go to use these jigs from Wolf. Yeah, it's one way. It's called the Wolverine grinding jig. So both can be set up on either side. I only use one side, and this comes out, and you can effectively swap out a different component and get your angle on your grind based on how far out you are, and changes your angle to the wheel. And then of course that locks in place. And that's pretty much the two jigs I use. You've got a whole set of other setup alignment tools. And then of course this one's pretty cool. It allows you to pivot your tool on here for your bowl gauges and grind on that, so that's pretty nice. So, but yeah, it'd be ideal, but the shop's not that big, so I need the extra steps anyway. So this is 2 Husky boxes stacked on top of one another. They would have handles and independent casters. But once I stacked it, it made sense because I'm about 6 foot tall and I can get to the top without too much issue. There's some specialty tools here. Adam Savage sticker here. I haven't quite figured out where I want to put it. And then some jigs that I use for the Windsor chairs. There's a series of woodworking tools and different things dedicated to woodworking, measuring, marking, sanding. So that it works in that sense. There's some stuff here for joinery work, dowels and biscuit joinery. And then we've got some more stuff for the carving and table saw. There's also set up for the jig. Now we haven't gone over the table saw yet. Drilling station ideally would be by the drill, but I have to compromise for the space I have. So just more and more tools. Not so much the tool automotive stuff. It's all right in here for the most part. So all my wrenches and things. Most of my vehicles are Japanese, so I really just need a 14mm wrench. Things take care of everything. And then there's storage here, nuts and bolts, hardware. This is a rolling cart. It really is pretty tight in here, but it works for the space that I have. It's a good footprint for a lot of screws and hardware that I need to keep. So this is the Harvey setup table saw. It's I think they're Alpha model, and yeah, it's the Alpha H1 or H10 LC 36. That pretty much I think just stands for your range of cut 36 inches to the right of the blade. This I was going to do a hardwood leaf and do my own version of a lift, and then I figured they had a good setup, and I just haven't gotten their interface with the fencing system yet, but I've been able to make it work with this and another contraption I use that works pretty good for what I do. And I don't use this a whole lot, but when I do, it's nice to have. It's got dust collection that's hooked up via the table saw of the dust collection. I just have to work the blast gates down below. This thing's on pretty much all the time. And it just has speed control, so I can go more or less in terms of what I need for the cut. And this is a European style fence that allows you to go either way, and you can quickly change it out. And get a cut that allows for a different application in terms of the type of wood that you're cutting. So you can utilize this fence, and I do use it from time to time, mostly in the configuration that I just had it in. There's also a different style fence, and I'll show that in a minute. But dust collection is pretty decent on here. It does leave, of course, a little bit of on top. This is a bit of some of the stuff that they had in here. It does get a little bit difficult to utilize when you're using it close to the fence. It does get in the way. And of course, some cuts you have to take this thing off entirely. So that's a little unfortunate. But it is what it is, and I'm pretty glad to have it. It's portable, it's on wheels, and I can move it around in case I really have something. But I can cut 8 feet either way.